1 second.
All right, good evening. This is Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. I have the lovely Miss Yolanda Castro here tonight to talk to us. I'll probably be letting people in as we go along. I'm recording on two things, so if you see me looking back and forth, Yolanda, it's not because I'm crazy or I'm seeing spirits. I'm actually looking at another camera, okay?
Gotcha.
All right. So with that said, I appreciate first you coming tonight. I know you got a lot on your plate. We talked offline, and I want to be respectful of your time. And so the first question that I would probably ask you, young lady, is can you share a bit about your background and what inspired you to start your own business?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Like Mike said, my name is Yolanda Castro. Let's say by profession, I am a accountant. I have my background is accounting, of course. I have a undergrad in accounting, concentration in business, and I have a master's in accounting, concentration in taxation. And that being said, taxation, that's one of my favorite subjects. So I started my career, of course, like many of us in corporate America, scaled my way up, and I noticed that I was so still unhappy. You know how we pray to God and ask Him for all things, and He does give us desires of our heart. And guess what? When we get those desires, sometimes we're still not fulfilled. I found myself still not fulfilled because I had a passion to be an entrepreneur. So one day I just decided to step out on faith and start my journey of entrepreneurship. Um, it's been let's say it's been a learning journey, but my corporate background has helped me to sustain and remain out here as an entrepreneur. I've learned a lot of skills in corporate that I took with me out into the world to become a successful entrepreneur. And now I own a tax business. I'm a business coach, a business consultant. Some people call me the tax therapist. So that's how I got here.
Wow, wow. She said a mouthful there. So I guess my next question would be is what are some of the beneficial habits or routines that you, Yolanda, have developed to contribute to your success as a business owner? And since this is Women's Month, I want you to speak from a woman's perspective because, honestly, as a guy, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, more or less a mom or a wife or significant other. I don't understand that side of this. And so this recording hopefully will reach somebody, maybe a male that kind of takes for granted their partner or their spouse who's an entrepreneur. So if you could kind of tell the people what it's like your routine.
First and foremost, prayer. Prayer is first. That I do not operate outside of that. When I have to pray, I have to let my heavenly Father order my steps, and I set the tone for my day. You know that's very important. Is setting the tone for your day, saying positive affirmations, even if you don't believe it. You have to speak life into your business. Your business is a person, it is a thing, it's a living entity. So you have to speak life into your business. So I start off with prayer, I start off with affirmation, and it is good also to start off like with something that stimulates your mind, like getting ready for your day. I'm a tax professional, so that's very stressful. So I might take a walk, I might go to the gym, do 30 minutes, and then I'm ready to tackle my day. I say the most success I have is juggling. It's hard to juggle, but you have to prioritize. That's the thing. You have to prioritize what is important. And it is important being a mom, those duties. And it's important if you're a wife. I'm an ex, but I was a wife before. So you have to like prioritize your day. Just like if you got up and you went to that 9 to 5. you give them 150%. So you have to do the same in your business. You have to learn how to not procrastinate and prioritize your duties as a business owner, just like if you was going to work with for somebody else. But being a woman, Mike, yes, it is hard because you have so many other demands of yourself. But I say you have to set the tone for your day, and it is important to schedule out your day. Don't try. I know it's harder, it's easier said than done, but try not to be all over the place. I found that I am a person that kept everything up here in my head. And someone said, Yolanda, you're going to crash and burn if you don't start writing this stuff down, start making a calendar. I'm like, I don't need a calendar. I got it all up here. Now, being a business owner, being a mom, being a wife, you have to set your calendar, and that helps.
Okay. So you heard it first from an entrepreneur, a woman business owner, that you got to prioritize. You have to think positively. You got to go out and get you a walk in or go to the gym. You got to you have to be task oriented, is what I
Yes.
heard you say.
Yes. That,
So with that said, since you're a task oriented person, do you have a
woman,
favorite affirmation you like to say, or a favorite scripture, or is it just something that you remind yourself on a daily basis? Because I know one thing you say all the time, but I'm gonna see if you say it.
oh boy, Mike, you might have to help me with that. I say a lot to others, being a mom and I can say somebody, a lot of people come to me for power and inspiration. We can always spread that love on others, but it's hard to do it for yourself. So you might have to remind me of the things that I say, but it just depends on the day. I don't like have a favorite. I just kind of go with the flow. I do have some affirmations that I write on my mirror, like I'm happy, I'm humble, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm strong, and just the simple things. Like it's what works for you. But I say that you need to gather a bunch of affirmations to speak life into yourself. But Mike, you have to remind me what I say. What
So
do I?
so when I first met this lady, and it's going on 2 years now, I think. Um, her first introduction to me was, I'm self-employed. I kill what I eat.
Oh,
I
yeah,
said, oh my goodness.
that's
I was
the
like,
lioness
being
in
in the
me.
military, I was like, whoa, okay, I hear you.
Okay, yes, I'm a lioness. You have to have that attitude out here. And I tell people, apply that same energy that you have when you are going to work for someone else. Apply that to your life. You have to. You gotta be rough out here. You have to have tough skin. If you don't have tough skin, entrepreneurship is not for you because it's up and it's down. It's up and it's down. You got to learn how to ride the best roller coasters.
So what she's describing right now is grit, tenacity.
Yes,
She's talking about being willing to fight for your family, your babies, making decisions that other people won't make. My
right,
saying I usually say is, I do today what others won't so I can have tomorrow what others don't. And a lot of times I'm telling myself, if I was sane, I'd just give up. But I'm not sane. I'm probably a lunatic, because entrepreneurs are lunatics. They
yeah,
fight for stuff that nobody can see. And it goes
right,
back to the Bible, and it talks about faith. It's the substance of things hoped for yet unseen. And so, you constantly thinking about that as a business owner. Yeah, I know I can't see it. And then if you tell your spouse or you tell your children, they think you're a whack job. And so, because they can't see what you see, and so nothing's wrong with you having vision, because our people perish because of lack of vision. That's also
right,
in the Bible. But
right.
hey, I don't want to quote scripture, but I feel you. I feel you,
Yes,
sister. I
you
feel you.
know, it is the business is all in the Bible. People need to know that.
100%. 100%. So what would you say, or could you discuss a growth formula or a strategy that has been particularly effective for scaling your business? Because guys, I've been talking to her for a while. She is like, her and I are so, it's interesting because I had to touch everything for me to feel like it was getting done. And I finally stepped out and I found a virtual assistant, and Ren is on the line. And ever since I got this professional, he's made life a lot more clear. And some people say, well, maybe, if I had the money. Well, I would say, even if you don't have the money and you betting on yourself, you got to bet on yourself and believe that you deserve to have help, because you can't do it. You only have 24 hours in a day. You're only one person. And as entrepreneurs, where we fail at, and I'm sorry, I'm sick as a dog, guys. I'm just gonna tell you that already. Throat hurt, head hurt, but I'm still here.
Gotcha,
So
Mike.
if you hear me cough, and I'm taking medicine, so forgive me. But it's that one thing that we talk about, a growth formula. What would you say that would be for you, or a strategy that you've used? Because guys, she got a lot of clients. She got them spread all over the United States. She flying here, she flying there, she doing this, she doing that. And I'm like, at some point, you either gonna fall out or you're gonna have to hire somebody. So tell me your growth strategy.
Okay, Mike. I'm look, you learn as you go. And Mike said, Yolanda, you gotta get a VA. You gotta get a VA. You can't be all things. So guess what? I am in the process of taking his advice, because you cannot. And that's one formula, a growth formula, because if you want to grow, you cannot grow a business all by yourself. So I'm listening, I'm open, and I'm learning. And I am going to get a virtual assistant because I want to scale up. I want to work on the task that is bringing in the capital for the business. So that's very important, guys. You do have to get help and assistance in your business, because you will fail being everything to your business. It's impossible. It is impossible. So that's number one. And I say also, what you have to do is be open to learning. You got to invest in yourself. That is so important, to invest in yourself. I'm telling you, in these last like 3 years, I have been invested in myself, but the return on the investment has been amazing. It's been amazing. Scaling up your skills and getting in different rooms and networking and meeting new people. That's how I met Mike, because I invested in myself. I was
Yep.
in a room, a costly room, but look at the end result. You got a lifetime relationship with an awesome person, and also a business partner with me
Yes.
and Mike. Yeah, me and Mike, we do business together too. So look at the investment that I made and the return that I get. So I would say the most important things is keep investing in yourself, keep growing. That's the way you'll grow. And also get yourself a virtual assistant, get some help to help you scale up.
So on that note, I'm just going to tell you what happens is when you have some help that's not your family, people are going to laugh at this, and you probably laugh at it. It's easy for you to get. I can't get mad with my wife or my kids if they don't want to help me grow the business, because they giving a lot of free labor, free love. But when you paying somebody, now your mind is, I gotta have stuff for them to do, because
Right,
I got to be actively engaged and they got to be actively engaged.
right.
And the stuff that you start thinking in your mind that like, oh, I can do this or I can do that, you figure out real quick. You're like, you know what? If it weren't for this individual right here, I would not have done X. And I see that as far as growth.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our mentors says this all the time. Um, when life is growing, when you're being stretched, or when you're growing, you're either having one or two things happen. You're either growing externally or you're growing internally. And so, unfortunately, when you're growing internally, you don't really like those lessons, because
Right,
it's no definite proof of you growing on the inside. Everybody likes the outside because guess what? Everybody can see that. They can see if you go out and buy a new vehicle or buy a house, or you take trips, or you do this, and they're like, oh, they're doing well. But they don't see the internal struggle of you having to grow as a person. And that goes back to the getting a mentor, or paying for a mentor, or investing in a course, or studying, and Yolanda's been hearing me talk about this and everything that I got going on. I'm still reading and trying to get better so that I can provide better services and better products to clients, because no one person knows everything.
Right.
So with that said, what are some key planning considerations, Yolanda, you think aspiring business owners should keep in mind when starting their own ventures?
I say you definitely need to have, it's kind of piggybacking off our last conversation. You definitely have to have some capital to keep growing and scaling your business, to keep investing in yourself. So that is key. I know it might be hard, but you might have to do something on the side, other than, your main business, to keep that revenue coming in. And that's okay that you're part-time and somewhere else to keep that business thriving, because the main thing you want to keep alive. So I say that you definitely got to have that side pocket of money to keep funneling back into investing in you, because the more that you invest in you, the better your business is going to become.
Now, I'm gonna say it like this: your first business partner is your job. And I grew up in a time when people used to be like, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you got to go in at 100% and you fake it till you make it. No, we don't do that, because what ends up happening as individuals, faking it till you make it, you cause havoc on your family, you go into financial struggle or ruin, and I remember faking it till I make it, and then going out and having to humble myself because it just got so bad that I was not where I need to be. And it's because I lacked the skills to actually be to be able to take care of a family. And so, as a young entrepreneur, everybody don't like to talk about having your lights and water cut off or things of that nature. When you're young in your early 20s and you're going through, you may be married and have a young child. Nobody wants to talk about that. All they want to talk about is, oh, that person made a lot of money. They don't see the struggles that person had to go through to get to where they're at. And so if you're an entrepreneur and whatever your job is, I say keep your job until your business income surpasses your income. And then, just so that you're not gonna fall backwards, maybe you keep it for 1 year after you've actually made your salary, so that you can prove to yourself and your family that, hey, you can do it.
Yeah, Mike. Okay, I'm wired just a little different, right? It's like I'm all in or nothing. I call myself, I roll the dice. I take the risk, because I'm like, you know what? I can always go back and depend on that degree. It just depends on you and your mindset and what you know that you're capable of doing. But I know when I do things and I'm all in and I'm like, it's all or nothing, Yolanda, I'm giving it 1,000% of me, because I know that thing has to work, because I gave up all this behind me to move forward. So when I first left corporate America, I just went cold turkey, like all into the entrepreneurship game. Not only that, I was crazy enough to move to another state and
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
to leave my yeah, to leave my comfort zone. You have to get uncomfortable to be successful. You cannot stay in your comfort zone and expect the trees and the leaves and the flowers, all this, to blossom and everything is just going to be honky dory. No, that is a lie. And just like Mike said, like it's a struggle. but it depends on you and what you're trying to obtain. The thing in my mind was generational wealth, Yolanda. I don't want my kids to think that this is it. You just go to a 9 to 5, you retire, take little vacations here and there, live off a retirement or Social Security, and that's it. And then you die. I was like, no, the devil's a lie. It's more to this life than this. God said we can have what we want, the desires of our heart, abundance, but we have to put some works in that faith. And that's what I did. I did something crazy. I went out of corporate period and I started something, an inflatable company. That was a different territory for me. Like, I'm doing labor. I'm used to sitting in a pretty office, putting on a suit every day. And here I am out in the street with a t-shirt on, flipping inflatables because I knew that and you know, God has a sense of humor when I say it comes to me. Because sometimes I have to take the long road, the grit road where I sweat and I learn and it leads into other stuff. I started off where it was very hard. I was working. But as the years went on and I learned from that business, I learned that, okay, what is a way that I can work smarter and not harder? So you had to learn that lesson because sometimes when we get it too easy up front, we take advantage of that. And it's easy to procrastinate when you're an entrepreneur, when you're making all this money. You're like, I don't have a schedule. I can go here, I can go on vacation. But you got to remember, you got to stick to the plan. You have to stick to the plan. So I say that you have to get uncomfortable to become comfortable.
Okay, now you've heard two sides of it. Nobody told you should quit your job, but we heard the other side. If you do quit your job, you better go to work and you
Yes, you
better put
better.
the work in.
Yep.
So, you know, you spoke on this briefly. You hit that next question like right on point. And so, how do you approach building a legacy with your business? And what steps are you taking to ensure the long-term impact for your family? Because family don't see what you see. They only see you gone. They only see you busy. They only see you on the phone. They only see you flying here, going there, blah, blah, blah. They don't really understand the concept. So to me, I like to say it like this. When you work for somebody, it's easy for you to just come and show up
Right.
and somebody tell you what to do. But when you
Right.
own a business, you got to, you know, I don't want to say make the donuts, but you got to go from making the donuts to where you get the raw materials to where you get everything that needs to actually happen. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about, if something happens to me, who knows how to make the donuts, right?
Right.
You know, we work in some highly regulated professions where we're gathering information from clients, private information, and we're actually dealing with their financial needs, whether it be from the tax standpoint or, you know, the investments or insurance. And so we're a little different as far as how we actually deal with our property. So like when you do tax strategy, that is a legacy building type of product,
Right.
right? Just like with me, a financial plan is a a actual legacy type product.
Right.
So when you're offering these products, do you have people that try to negotiate your strategy, or they want to tell you what they're willing to pay for? How do you deal with that?
Oh boy, all the time. You know what, Mike? You know what I tell them? um don't like, do not take advantage of me. Like if you go to a H&R Block and they do your taxes, you, if they give you a tax bill and they tell you what the price is, you're not going to finagle them or talk them down. You're going to go and pay what they said
Right.
the bill was. So respect me in the same manner. And people think because you're not in this big franchise or this big giant building that, oh well, I can talk her down or do her down, and her price is in her price, we can negotiate. And that absolutely burns me. But you got to stick to your worth. Whatever your price is, say what your price is. Do not negotiate so you can get that client. But guess what? If you get that client, that's going to be a cheap client. That client is going to give you hell in the future. Believe me, all money is not good money. I've learned that. Oh my gosh, I had to learn that lesson because when you become an entrepreneur, you're so excited to get people drawn to you. You're like, okay, I'll take half just to get that client in. But if that client doesn't respect what your pricing is, they're not going to respect you ever. So it's the way you start things. So I'm a big believer. The way you start is the way that you finish. And people want your service, they will pay what you're asking. Don't worry. If they don't pay, you'll get somebody else in the future. Just keep moving forward. You can't negotiate your price.
And I'm gonna say this to the entrepreneurs out there. I literally had 2 business calls a day, and I turned both of those people down. And they were trying to sell. One was trying to sell me on an idea that I should use his services. Well, in the last 2 days, I've turned 3 people down.
Okay.
And I'm saying this to say that everybody that comes before you is not meant for you. So
Right.
it's understanding that when somebody says, well, I know you want to do work with me. I'll say it like this. If you have a set amount that you're willing to charge or something you're willing to accept, and you go below that number because you're trying to get a client, you are going to get a headache.
You are.
You're going to get a headache. I remember working at MetLife. I remember having 1,500 clients. Some of the worst clients that I had were clients that didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. So my clients that had, and I'll just use a number that had 100,000 plus in investable assets, they rarely asked you a ton of questions.
Right.
Because they had already studied, they read the perspectives, they looked at some of the things that you offered, they understood because they took the time to understand, versus somebody saying, hey, what do you got that can make me some money?
Right.
Well, how much money you need to make? Well, as much as I can make. Well, how much do you have to invest? Oh, I don't have any.
Right.
So that old adage, you need money to make you money. Yes, that's true. You do.
Right.
But you also need to be educated in what you do.
You do. You do.
And building a legacy is not cheap.
Yeah, and that I'm going to backtrack to one thing that you said about building legacy. As you're going out here and you're being an entrepreneur, it's very important. Like, you have to plant seeds. I'm like, I call myself like a farmer. I had planted seed last February that's coming to harvest this season. So don't discount the small things that you do, that you might plant a seed for, and then you come back later, a year later, and it's harvesting, and then it helps you move forward. So you got to keep that in mind. Don't live just for that moment. Leave stuff behind. Like, let's take for instance, like what you do, Mike, the tax liens. People might take for granted, like, okay, I just got this little tax lien and I paid, I don't know, $2,000. But guess what? A year later, if those people don't come back and pay the taxes off, guess what? Then you have an asset.
Right.
You have an asset. So you got to you got to think outside the box. This is survival. So you got to think like the big companies think. Do you think like McDonald's just in the food business? No,
nope. They in the real estate business.
Exactly. So that's the way that we got to think. And another thing that I see where people fail is that they keep everything up here in their business, their bank accounts, their accounting, all that. Who's going to take over if something should happen to them? No, you have to document, be paper tight, have operating agreements, have an accounting system that keeps track of your bookkeeping, things of that nature. I see so many business people fail and not able to get approved for things because they do not do the paperwork and documenting their businesses properly.
So what you're saying is don't take shortcuts.
No. Even from day one, if you start in a business and you can't do QuickBooks, do Excel spreadsheets. They're free. Track your expenses, track your income monthly, and you can see where you're spending or where you need to cut your spending at. and what months are your good months and what months you're not making money and what else you can implement. You can be your own strategist on a smaller scale. Just looking at those things that will help you to success. Because when you do need to hire an accountant, i.e., me,
Yeah.
then you can tell me the story and then you can give me pointers on where I need to go look first. Because I need your help to help you.
Right. That's right. Can you share some insight, Yolanda, or experiences regarding potential exit strategies or the sale of a business that might be valuable to others to consider? And I don't know if that's one of the things you focus on, people wanting to sell their business and move off into the sunset. We call it succession planning.
Yeah.
But you know, you might have some insight from an accounting standpoint that people should be thinking about.
Well, I see a lot of people like they get a certain age and they grew this huge business and they're ready to go. They want to sell it. And they might come to me to look at their financials to help them assess what they should sell it for and
So
look at
evaluation.
EBITDA. Yeah, look at their EBITDA and things of that nature to say, hey, what
Now,
should I sell?
EBITDA, that's earnings before taxes and
Yeah,
in
sugar. You
sorry,
got earnings before taxes and gosh.
interest earned.
Uh, uh,
No,
things
EBITDA. EBITDA
yeah.
is I'm
When
gonna have to look it up.
yes, I just looked at one.
I'm making sure that people understand what EBITDA is, because
Yeah, I'm
I was
sorry.
I was
I'm
like,
throwing out
let me make
words.
sure I'm thinking of it correctly.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that I help people do, when they're just ready to retire. They have enough saved. I'm not a finance person, and Mike, I told you, like I stay in my lane. Accounting and most accountants and tax professionals do not like finances. That is a class. I'm like, give me that B, and I'm good.
Right. Yeah, I got you. So with that said, let's see. Um, this is a good question for you. What advice would you give, Yolanda, to someone who's just starting their entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, wait.
And
My
I want you to speak to the women, because more and more people are starting to see women go out into leaving the workforce and betting on themselves. Unfortunately, people always say, well, it's a man's world, or this is this particular race world. It's everybody's world that wants to be an entrepreneur. It's just how bad they want it.
Right, right. And my advice, not just to women, to anybody, because I get a lot of young kids that come to me and be like, I really want to start a business, but I don't even know the first thing about starting a business. Um, I mean, I can use example for it. Just like when you're making a pot of stew, you just don't throw the vegetables in the pot without adding the water and making the broth. So you got to take it. Yeah, you got to do it in steps. You got to think of starting a business like you're cooking, like you're making a recipe, because it is a recipe at the end of the day. You got to start with the small things. You got to incorporate. I say that you put your plans on paper. Start with a business plan. And some people just go past that point and they don't even have a business plan. I say start from with a business plan. And I also say start by talking to somebody before you form your business. Then make sure you're forming the right entity type.
Right.
That's one thing that I always have a struggle with people when they come to get their taxes done. They have formed a partnership. So when you form a partnership, that's a whole different separate tax return from your personal tax return, which equates that you're going to be paying more to get your taxes prepared because that's a corporate tax return. That's a
Right.
whole different one from your personal tax return. So choosing the right entity type is very important. Most people just do it themselves and then they regret it later. Then they got to hire somebody like me to clean up the mess. So I would say that you start with a business plan. When you start in your business, I suggest you talk to a business coach or consultant to make sure that you are picking the correct entity type. That is very important because it can cost you later. And I say that you have to start like, okay, what do I want out of this business? Formulate an operating agreement. And once again, that business coach can help you with those steps. Do not try to do this thing by yourself with little knowledge. YouTube, yeah, you can look at YouTube, but when it comes to implementing those things by yourself, you're like, oh my God, wait a minute. Let me hit rewind on this video. And when I get people come to me like, oh my God, I listened to the YouTube video, but they forgot this step. So getting a coach, I can't stress that enough, is important to walk you through the steps of starting the business.
I know I find on the insurance side, people don't think about having a business operation policy. They don't think about umbrellas. They don't think about E&O unless they're forced to have it. They don't think about personal liability. They don't think about any of these things starting out, because they're in their mind, they're like, oh, everything's going to work and I'm going to be fine. Well, we saw during the pandemic, excuse me, that people weren't fine. People's businesses were wrecked if they didn't have certain things in place. You know, you got to have a contingency operation plan. You got to have a emergency plan in case your business gets disrupted. And you know, that's what proper insurance agents and accountants and advisors should be advising you on, other than just taking your money, but explaining to you the pitfalls. We are risk mitigation people. So we're trying to help you mitigate your risk, because guess what? Even from a legal standpoint, you could be sued. Now get sued, and let's say it's not your fault, but you didn't have errors and omissions, or you didn't have a personal liability policy. You're out there, and guess what? Your risk level is infinite. Because you don't know how much you would be forced to pay in arbitration or going to court. So that's a fun fact. I hate to say this, but I've been sued. They didn't win. But if I wouldn't have had everything in order, could have been ugly. So, you know, some people just don't think about that. And so I'm trying to give you the ugly part of it. Now, she mentioned something. I was waiting to see if she was going to mention it, because I know she knows it. The CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act. You know, you guys, I'll let her talk a little bit about that. But if you started a business, give them the inside right quick, Yolanda, because these people need to know this.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people with corrupt minds started businesses during the pandemic and did a lot of things fraudulently with businesses. So guess what? It caught the government's eye, and you know, people got loans and, you know, PPPs and all that stuff. And now they're trying to go back to find people, and they cannot find who the company owner is. So the Corporate Transparency Act is coming into play now, because you have to display who all the owners are. You got to fill out all this information about you personally. So if anything should happen in your business, that they are able to find you. So people, you got to know this is very serious, because if you do not fill out these forms, and if you don't know how to fill out these forms, you need to get in touch with someone that knows how. I actually went to a class on how to do it properly, because I have clients in different states. And that form also varies from state to state too, Mike. I found out, I'm like, oh, okay. So that's why I was like, I have to get some more education about this form. But if you do not fill out this form, if you started a business before 2024, you have to the end of this year to do the form. But if you start a business within this year, I think you have 30 or 60 days to fill out that form, or you're going to be in big trouble, like fines. I think the fine is what, a 600 or something per day.
$500 and up to, I think, a 10-year.
6,000. Yeah, I think they 10 years.
10-year jail sentence.
Jail time. Yeah. People are trying to fight it, you know, but right now that is law. So until they say, oh, we don't have to worry about it, I advise everybody to get that done. A lot of us have LLCs we started years ago, and you might be paying, to get it renewed every year, but you're not doing anything with it and you forgot about it. Guess what? You better remember it, because it'll remember you. So I urge you, look up the Corporate Transparency Act and get informed on that.
Okay, so hey, we just saved you a lot of money and some jail time just then. So let's see. How do you stay motivated and focused during challenging times in your business?
Ooh, I talked to you, Mike Barnes, my friend. I talked to my lifelines. That's very important, guys. Like, a lot of us have families and everything, but it is nothing like another entrepreneur understanding this walk and this journey, your pain. Mike, I'll pick up the phone, vice versa, and be like, Mike, help
Yep.
me, give me some advice. And people that, he speaks life back into me. And you want somebody to make you feel like, oh, okay, I got my Wonder Woman braces back on. I'm ready to go.
Yep.
So that's very important, that you have a tribe, a people of like minds that you can go to and talk to, and they help encourage you.
Yep.
That's my secret.
That is my secret too, 100%. So I guess the next question would be, Yolanda, are there any resources or tools that have been particularly helpful to you in managing and growing your business?
I have a lot of connections in the community. There are some free resources in your area, like even the SBA. It's a lot of information on that website that can help you. And most of us in our areas, we do have a local chapter that we can go into, and they offer a lot of free help and a lot of free counseling. Also, the Chamber of Commerce is important. They'll give you resources also, and then you can meet with like-minded people and talk about your business, and even get your business advertised through the chambers. But you do have to pay a membership fee, but it's well worth it. So I say use your resources in community to help grow and scale your business. The more you get out there and network and talk about your business, the more that you'll draw attention to yourself, and also it help you educate yourself and at the same time while you're growing your business.
Right. That's a awesome idea. Chamber of Commerce, join
Yes.
those, because you meet invaluable people. Also, one of the things we've talked about earlier in this conversation was joining a mentor group.
Yes.
This is the thing I'm going to say to you. If you have a mentor and your mentor doesn't have a mentor, change your mentor.
Exactly.
Because you have a person that's feeding you.
Right.
And I'll use church as an example. If your pastor is always feeding, or your bishop or whatever your denomination is always feeding the flock, but they're not being fed, you find that a lot of times, because there's no accountability there, that those particular people end up going astray, because they got all this pressure on them and everybody's looking at them, and they don't have someone that keeps them accountable. I believe that God has put people in place to keep us accountable to one another, whether it be your spouse or a loved one, significant other, business partner, collaboration. Everybody needs some person that says, hey, you, stop. What are you doing?
Right. Right.
Or, hey, you, are you okay? Is there anything you need? Or, hey, you, why don't we go and have a cup of coffee, or sit down and talk about what's going on in your business?
Mm-hmm.
You need that. Now, some mentors are free. Don't get me wrong. I've met one, a multimillionaire, and he believes in giving his time back. But most of my mentors are paid, and I'm not paying them a little bit of money.
Right.
I like to say it like this. Both Yolanda and I both got MBAs, and we paid somebody for that advice. But guess what? A lot of those people, that advice after we graduated, is no longer in existence, meaning it's got
Antiquated.
old, it's not fresh anymore. So we got to
Right.
constantly be learning. And
Right.
so when someone gives you their price, you need to pay the price because
Right.
they're giving you up-to-date information, not years old information.
Right. And one thing, when you were talking about being fed, I was laughing, I was smiling hard. This last Sunday, you guys, they're Christian, you know, it was Palm Sunday. And shout out to my pastor, Andre Landers. He was like, I'm not giving out no palms this year. That's just leaves, this dry leaves we're just doing this with. But where's the fruit? I want to
Mhm.
see the fruit. Let's start producing fruit. If
Mhm.
he's feeding us, we're supposed to produce fruit from what he's given us. So that was key, Mike. Go to somebody that is giving you the keys to success to help you grow fruit, not just having all these dry leaves on your tree.
Mm.
You want those branches that have leaves, but you want the fruit to sprout out because that shows that you're doing something, you're moving in the right direction. So that's very key.
I can tell you on Monday, I talked about obesity and poverty and how they're
Mm.
linked. And
Oh,
and I'm quite sure I stepped on some people's feet
I'm sure
because
you did with that.
it is a direct correlation that when you are in a poverty state, you don't eat well.
Right,
We have a lot of food deserts in the United States, and we have a lot of people who, some by choice and some not, have chosen to be obese. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially in um, the Christian community, is a lot
right.
of people eat their emotions.
Yes.
And if we truly trust God,
Mm.
um, we wouldn't overindulge. We would eat to sustain life and not let life sustain us.
Say not. That's true. That's true.
So um I look at it like, people there's gluttony, which means
Right,
there's an overeatings because you're wealthy, but then you have you have those people who, because they can't get good nutrition or good nutrients, they eat whatever they could. Our history has proven that we eat some things that are not the most healthiest because that's how we survived. But as you
right.
get older and do more and learn more, then you actually get more. You can actually feed yourself in a standpoint of where you're now. I like to say it like this: health is wealth.
It is.
And unfortunately, you can have a lot of money. And somebody pointed this out to me. He was like, you could talk to a person that's extremely wealthy, but if they're overweight, they're taking all of their money to get back healthy. Versus if you do the hard part, which is stay healthy while you're getting there,
Getting there. Mm-hmm.
then when you get the money, now you're not paying it back trying to keep your life.
You're right,
And
Mike.
so, we got to talk about health as wealth. We got to talk about getting ourselves aligned back physically to the point where, like you were talking about, walking and meditating and exercising and affirmations. We got to get to the point because I believe the devil makes us focus on lack. And
Yes,
when he
yes.
when he gets us focused on lack, we think that, okay, this problem can't be solved by God. And so we now go into a depressive state, anxiety, depression, whatever you want to call it. And we that affects our finances because guess what we do? We overindulge. We overdrink, we overeat. And I'm not talking about drinking water. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a person who believes in the cannabis, you overindulge in that, which gives you the munchies, which makes you eat. So I
Right,
mean, whatever your thing is,
right.
okay, it causes you to gain weight, and then you get in a depressive state, and now you can't be a good entrepreneur because
You
you're
got all
out of
this
whack.
stuff
You're not
on.
balanced.
And Mike, that is so. When you were talking, some things was resonating in my mind. And I remember working in corporate America, this working 80, 90 hours a week, and I'm traveling here, traveling there, and I'm eating bad, but I'm making all this money. Back then, I was making money. I didn't quit corporate because I was not making money.
Right.
I quit corporate because I was tired of giving all of me to someone else. And the further you go up the food chain, the more that you got to give. I say give your soul, because
Right.
that's what it felt like. I had to give my soul, but I was eating bad. My health was horrible. I always had a stomach ache. I lost my gallbladder working in corporate America because when you're eating and you're in that meeting, you're not really chewing, you're talking and taking big chunks and bites. I'm just saying this to say that I'm just thinking like how God ordered my steps. I left corporate America, and when I left corporate America, I became more conscious of my health. It
Right.
made me more aware of my health and how I was eating. So, like I told you guys, remember I say I do things drastically. I just go cold turkey. I'm all in. One morning I woke up and said, you know what? I'm not eating no more meat. I went cold turkey. And this has been about 12 years or so since I've ate meat. I do not eat meat. And that was my choice because I looked at my family history of diabetes and high blood pressure. And I was like, okay, it stops with me. It stops with me. I'm stopping this. So as I change my behavior, my kids are watching my behavior. And two of my kids do not eat meat because I don't do it. They replicated what I was doing. So it's like Mike said, it's very important for you to take care of your health because it stimulates your mind, what you put in your body. So as I was going along with my entrepreneur journey, wasn't a successful entrepreneur, but I did a sacrifice. And you guys got to know the sacrifice is real. You sacrifice some things, hey, I don't know when it's going to come back, but you sacrifice a little and God gives you a little more. You sacrifice this, He gives you a little more. But I sacrificed eating meat and taking care of my health a long time ago as I was growing myself. So taking care of your mind, your body, and your soul, they all have to align for me. They all have to align. All those three entities have to be fed for me.
So, I'm going to break down. I'm doing C's right now, Yolanda, and I was looking at, and C's are continuing ed for those people that don't have to do them. But
Mhm.
in the insurance arena, I'm taking a diversity course in inclusion on ethics. And it was talking about redlining, but it also talked about insurance. And it talked about how, based off of our eating habits, certain demographics were being charged more because they were expected to die sooner. And so, I want you to think about that as you create wealth as an entrepreneur, don't let the little stuff take you out.
No.
Figure out how to, and I've been in insurance since 1994, so 30 years, and this is the first course I've ever taken talking about inclusion, diversity in finance.
Wow.
Outside of my studies where we like touched the topic like 2 sentences, as that was it. This is an actual whole course, and I'm sitting there like, wow, because you don't think about how your credit affects how much money you pay for insurances, and insurances you can't get back because this
Nope.
is a mitigating risk.
Yep.
And you don't think about how much interest you're paying when you're buying a car or
Nope.
getting a loan or anything like that, and it's all based on your spending habits. And Yolanda, she may not say this up here, but this lady is a beast when it comes to credit. And
I was going to say, you get me started. You're waking up another one of me. Yeah, when you were talking, just like what Mike said, the insurance is very important. There is a health report they can pull to see all the medications that you are on. So that's how they charge you for your insurance. So people that is taking like the Ozempic and stuff for weight loss, and you're really not a diabetic, guess what? If you don't have life insurance, they're going to deem that it's because you're a diabetic. So you have to be careful of things. Everything is on a report. And please, Mr. Barnes, don't get me started on LexisNexis. That
Yeah, I
is
think we got to have a
another,
conversation about
we have
LexisNexis
to,
because
oh my gosh, guys, you got to be aware of LexisNexis and what is on that report. That's hundreds of pages. People do not realize they track you from birth. And we will have to get back on to learn about LexisNexis and how to dispute and get some of those things off of your LexisNexis report so you can get better credit and better interest rates and better insurance, car insurance. everything. That report leads to everything, even when you're buying a house, guys.
Even when you're doing that. And see,
Yep.
this is why we have these conversations. People don't show up for events, but I am an advocate that we've dropped so many gems and diamonds right now that people, if they had been in the building or on the call or
Right.
or listening, and we'll put this on YouTube, but
Right.
they don't think about how
No.
this could affect them. So let's see here. We talked about we talked about a lot so far. What funding sources or methods did you utilize to start and grow your business, and how did you decide which ones were the best fit for your needs, Yolanda?
Okay. Starting out, guys, here we go. Piggybacking off of not having a mentor, not being educated, is jumping out here. I jumped out here. I started, remember, guys, I said I started an inflatable business. Those bounce houses, they are expensive. They are not cheap. So I had a 401k. Guess what? I didn't want to have a loan because someone said, oh, it'll take you 10 years to grow business credit. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Well, let me use up my money and buy all my inflatables. And no. If I knew what I knew today, or even in 2019, I discovered this lovely thing about business credit and how it does not take you 10 years to grow business credit. The devil's a lie. Somebody misinformed me. And because I wasn't educated in that arena, and because I didn't have a mentor, I use all my capital. There are so many ways to obtain capital if your business is documented and you have your business structured properly, that you can have business credit and use other people's money. Do not use your money. The key thing is use other people's money to grow your business and to scale up. That's another conversation on how to fund your business and the different programs that's out here. There are so many programs. There are fintechs, there's traditional banks, and then of course you have your credit cards. But your business has to be aligned and have certain things for you to qualify for certain monies out here. But anybody can get business credit, down to you having a t-shirt company. If your company is properly structured and aligned, then you can get whatever you want. I am living example of it. Barely nothing's in my name. The vehicles I drive is not in my name. It's Yolanda Castro is not on my vehicle that I drive. It's in one of my LLC's names. So it is possible.
Woo-wee, she's spitting game there. Now I'm going to tell you this secret that I learned in the industry. You have security-backed lines of credit, which basically you go to an investment advisor like me, and they take your money that is what we call non-qualified money. Qualified money means it's in a account like a IRA, a 401k, 403b, 457. So we're not talking about that money. We're just talking about money that's sitting in the bank. Because a lot of y'all keep money in the bank for no reason, because you're not even getting a percentage off of it.
Doing nothing.
So what I'm saying to you in essence is that we could take and put that money up, and they can loan you up to 50% of that money while your money continues to earn interest.
Right.
That's one option. Second option, since I'm on this point and I'm going to give you this one, you could talk to your insurance agent, somebody like me or Yolanda, and you could basically go in, have a whole life policy, put money in, but you can't make it, which is modified endowment contract, meaning you would have had to have this policy for a little while. It has to pass the 7-year test, meaning that you can't over contribute to it. But you could borrow from that policy from yourself, no credit check, no nothing. So these first two I done gave you, no credit check. Now, if you go to your retirement account, you could borrow up to $50,000, but you got to pay it back through automatic payments when you get paid. That's the third thing. There's a fourth thing. There's plenty of things out there that you could do. You could actually put a bond up as collateral and borrow against the bond where someone would hold that bond, or CD. So there's multiple ways that you could get your business started if you don't want business credit, but the business credit would be the fastest, and it's other people's money.
Right. So, and also, Mike, people that do have a 401k and they are a business owner now, they can put some of that money into E-Trade and take a loan against their 401k and don't have to worry about paying taxes because it's a loan. So a lot of people don't know about that either. I see a lot of my clients take 50K out of their 401k and then they still owe taxes. Even if you pay taxes when you take it out, you still get taxed again 10% when your taxes is filed. And I hear so many people say,
if you're under 59
under 59 and a half. Yeah.
But if they're taking a loan for as far as a 401k, then they're not taxed.
Then they're not taxed. But you
if they're taking a withdrawal, they're going to be taxed.
Right. But you have to be a business owner to get the E-Trade account.
Okay, gotcha. And there's other programs out there that would be successful in helping people do this. So that brings me to this next one. Can you share any challenges or obstacles you faced in securing funding for your business, and how did you overcome them? Now, this woman is very resourceful. I'm gonna tell you, she could probably take something and make a cake out of it. The way she finagles and moves stuff around. And I ain't talking about nothing illegal. I'm talking about legal.
Let me tell you, Mike. Ooh, talk about a challenge. I'm transparent. What you see is what you get with me. When I first started out, unfortunately, a couple years later, I got a divorce, and I had to file for a divorce, and we had assets that we couldn't agree upon, so I had to file bankruptcy. Oh my goodness, why did I do that? I really messed myself up. When you're used to getting whatever you want on credit, and now you can't get anything. Being in the Chapter 13, it's a continuous bankruptcy because you're paying your debt, not a 7 when they just wash it away and then you're good. No, I was in a 13 because I had a lot of assets, so I couldn't do a 7 unless I wanted to sell everything I had to pay my creditors, and I wasn't trying to do that. So I did a 13, but I was locked in personally. I couldn't do anything. So once again, I had to learn the lovely world of business credit. That's how I was able to fund my businesses to go to the next level. I learned how to build business credit and go with the companies that did not look at your personal credit, and build business credit and get loans and get lines of credit and get the credit cards, working capital to sustain me to keep growing. So that's what I did, Mike. That was how I got out of using my personal. But now I'm all good on the personal side, paid my debt, and I'm free. But there are ways, guys, even if your personal credit is bad, I don't say keep it bad, but you have to learn how to fix that as you're growing your business credit. And you can do it all at the same time. I get tired of hearing people say, oh, I got to fix my personal credit first before I get business credit. No, you don't. You do have to do that eventually, but there are companies that will work with you if you have that cash flow. And if you need help on learning how to get that cash flow to come into your business, that's something else that I show you how to get the cash flow to get coming in your business so that you can apply for those loans that look at your business cash flow.
Okay. And so that brings me, we got 2 more questions. I called the last one my round robin question. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of funding your business? And what advice would you give to others seeking funding for those ventures?
I said this earlier. If I would have known about using other people's money starting out, I wouldn't have liquidated my 401k to buy all the assets that I obtained for one of my companies. If I would have known, what I've learned later, I would have definitely saved my 401k money and got a loan. So that's one of the lessons that I learned. Unfortunately, it's a hard lesson.
All right. So the last question, which I didn't tell you this, but the last question is you see all this stuff around me, and we call it branding, and you see the stuff behind Yolanda. What do you think is most important about branding yourself as a business owner? Like, everybody knows Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. They know True North Advisory LLC. They see all of these different things, well, over here, wherever it is. I'm constantly advertising and branding myself, because guess who else does it? Apple does it. American Express does it. You know, pretty much every time you pull out a card, and we'll just say I pull out this this platinum card, people look at it and they say, "Oh, that's an American Express." They've branded themselves. So
Right.
as a business owner, how would you go about branding your business?
You know, Mike, it's crazy because when you were saying look at your background, and the first thing that I said and heard in my mind before you even said it was a financial first response that came to my mind because you said so much and it's your tag. So I
Right.
remember that when you say True North Advisory, that's what comes to my mind. It's almost like sometimes your clients can brand you.
Yes.
Also, like with me, I'm working on that because I've never been a person that needed social media to grow my business, but that's another area that I have to venture into and make stronger because I'm always used to getting referrals after referrals after referrals. So I didn't need to go outside of my world. My clients brand me. They call me their favorite tax strategist or favorite tax lady. That's my favorite tax lady. So with me, my clients brand me with that name. But branding is very important. Like I said, when you said those names about your company name, that's the first thing that came to mind. So I say with your branding, you got to find out who you are internally and what you want to be branded, like what is favorable to you. Be your authentic self. And I think that brand is just going to shine through. Just like with me, I didn't really brand myself. It just came through. It just
Right.
shined through.
Right. Well, I know one thing tonight. You've given people a lot of information. Um, I guess the next thing is this is going to be on recording, and probably heard some background noise in the back. Can't always filter stuff out, guys. I do apologize because we want to be raw and authentic.
Right.
I think Yolanda's home, I'm home, Ren's home, and
Yeah.
so you're gonna hear noises in the back. Um, this is what I would say to you. How do the people get in touch with Yolanda?
Well, there's several ways you can get in touch with me. My company, as you can see, is Community Solution Services Inc. But my DBA is Community Tax Advisory. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at mycommunitysolutionsinc.com, or I do have a 800 number that you can give me a call at. It is 800 519-7697. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram and on TikTok at Yolanda Castro. And that is Yolo Castro.
Yolo Castro.
Yeah, because people spell Yolanda wrong. It's Yolo
Right.
N-A Castro.
Okay. All right. Well, you've heard this young lady tonight. We appreciate people being here. Um, this has been Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. I want you to like and subscribe the channel. I want you to reach out to Yolanda. She is going to be doing a YouTube channel as well as a podcast.
See, Big
We
brother
are
Mister
we
telling
are
me.
speaking that into existence.
Yes,
And we know that it's going to happen this year,
it is.
not 2 months from now, but this year.
You're
So,
right.
um, with that said, I'm going to stop the recording. And I thank you for your time and your patience, Yolanda.
Thank you, Mike.